Part V, The Day of Reckoning, 1944 to 1945. Chapter 11, The Dark Heart of the Bomb, Los Alamos, late 1944. The scientists, led by Oppenheimer and the brilliant Hungarian physicist Edward Teller, faced two critical simultaneous problems. The gun method, for uranium-235, the little boy bomb, they needed to fire one subcritical piece of U-235 into another to achieve critical mass. The engineering challenge was a giant high-speed cannon, but the theory was sound enough that they agreed to not waste precious, scarce U-235 on a test. The implosion method, plutonium-239, produced at Hanford, was too fizzly. Its inherent instability meant a simple gun-type assembly would cause it to pre-detonate in a weak fizzle before a true explosion could occur. The only solution was implosion, compressing a plutonium sphere to increase its density, forcing it critical. This was a problem of terrifying complexity. It required a perfect, symmetrical inward explosion created by shaped explosive lenses, a phenomenon almost impossible to engineer. The future of the plutonium path and the whole project rested on a flawless execution of this implosion physics. The emotional stress on the scientists, especially those like Richard Feynman, who worked on the complex calculations, was immense. They were inventing a never-before-seen phenomenon under a brutal deadline. Chapter 12, The Moral Fuse. Chicago, June 1945. As Germany surrendered in May 1945, the original justification for the bomb, to prevent Hitler from getting it first, evaporated. A profound moral crisis erupted among the scientists, particularly the European émigrés who had initiated the project, like Leo Szilard and James Franck. The Franck Report, authored primarily by Szilard, detailed their objections and was delivered to Secretary of War Henry Stimson. The central argument was chillingly prophetic. Warning: using the bomb against Japan without prior warning or demonstration would shock the world and destroy the U.S. moral position. Consequence: it would initiate an immediate, uncontrollable nuclear arms race with the Soviet Union. Proposal: they pleaded for a non-combat demonstration, perhaps on a deserted island, observed by international representatives, to force a global ban on the weapon. The Franck Report was fiercely debated by the Interim Committee, the body advising President Truman. Ultimately, political and military leaders, driven by the desire to end the war quickly, save American lives in a planned invasion of Japan, and establish U.S. global dominance, dismissed the scientists' moral warnings. The decision for combat use had been made. Chapter 13, Trinity, The Fire of 1,000 Suns. Alamogordo, New Mexico, July 16, 1945. The moment of truth arrived at 5:29 a.m. In the Jornada del Muerto desert, scientists, soldiers, and engineers huddled in bunkers, their faces smeared with sunscreen and their anxieties stretched to breaking point. The device, nicknamed the Gadget, a prototype of the plutonium bomb, was mounted on a 100-foot steel tower. Oppenheimer, gaunt and smoking, quoted the Bhagavad Gita as he waited. "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The explosion was unlike anything witnessed by humankind. The desert night turned to the light of a midday sun. A blinding flash was followed by an intense, searing heat, and then the slow, terrifying ascent of the iconic mushroom-shaped cloud, stretching 8 miles into the stratosphere. The force was estimated at 20 kilotons of TNT. Groves, watching from afar, immediately knew the military implication. The implosion design worked, and the war was functionally over. Oppenheimer, relieved but instantly burdened, recognized the profound terror they had unleashed. Chapter 14, The Point of No Return. Tinnan Island, Pacific, August 1945. The decision was formalized by President Harry S. Truman at the Potsdam Conference just days after Trinity. The ultimate logistics now shifted to the air. The 509th Composite Group, an elite B-29 unit commanded by Colonel Paul Tibbets, had been training for this single mission in complete isolation. On August 6, 1945, the B-29 Enola Gay, piloted by Tibbets, carried the uranium Little Boy bomb toward Hiroshima, Japan. It was the only U-235 bomb ever used. 3 days later, August 9th, a second B-29, Boxcar, carried the plutonium Fat Man bomb toward its primary target, Kokura. Cloud cover forced the crew to divert to the secondary target, Nagasaki. In the span of 72 hours, the atomic age was born. The world witnessed the power of the ultimate weapon, and the conflict that had driven the secret project ended with an unprecedented, terrible finality. The Alchemists of Manhattan had succeeded, but the moral cost, the enduring burden of creating the power of annihilation, would haunt them and the world forever. Part 6. The Reckoning and the Legacy, 1946 to 1954. The final parts of the novel would focus on the immediate aftermath and the Cold War consequences, addressing the final criteria of a fact-rich, astonishing story for a U.S. audience. The shock of speed, how U.S. intelligence realized the Soviets had their bomb, Project Joe 1 in 1949, far faster than expected, thanks to the data provided by Klaus Fuchs. The loyalty hearings, the persecution of Oppenheimer during the McCarthy era, orchestrated by political rivals like Edward Teller, the father of the H-bomb, who sought to develop even more destructive thermonuclear weapons. Oppenheimer's security clearance was revoked in 1954, a devastating political and moral blow to the scientific community. The legacy of Szilard, the later years of Leo Szilard, the man who started it all, as he desperately shifted his focus from creating the bomb to championing nuclear arms control, a final attempt to reclaim the moral ground he felt the world had lost. The secret cities revealed, the transformation of Oak Ridge, Hanford, and Los Alamos from military secrets to permanent, often contaminated centers of nuclear research and production, embodying the permanent, complicated legacy of the project in the American landscape and psyche.